I think it does look, from what I've seen in the trailers, it does look to be a very derivative movie. But I suppose I am interested, slightly interested in I suppose the different types of psychic people that the film portrays. Say, I tend to enjoy seeing order and diversity within movies. Um, I do actually have Asperger's syndrome, I suppose that has manifested in a liking for just for categories. Uh, I'd like to see how they pull off portraying these many different kinds or types of psychically active people.
Well, I would say it's worth a look.
Yeah.
If you're at all interested in it. It does give some interesting new views to the interactions. Goes places, a few of the few things it might derive from, where those would not go. So that's perhaps worth seeing.
Oh, heading back to The Shining. What did you think of the soundtrack? I don't tend to mind, the scores in Kubrick films, even though they do tend to be very screechy. But
right.
this is one element among many that put my dad off of 2001. So how did the soundtrack come across to you?
It was pretty good at being atmospheric, but at the same time, if you're
very jarring,
if you're not completely in there at the time that you're watching it, it will get annoying in certain parts with the screechy. That was my thought. My first thought when you mentioned the soundtrack.
Anything else you have to say on the film?
Not at the moment, except for to say that another comparison to the book that always can't bug me. Scatman Crothers' character, Dick Halloran,
he survives.
He lived at the end of the original book. He survived mauling by lawn animals, as we call it, lawn structures.
Although I suppose, well, perhaps Kubrick might not have had the budget to render marauding hedges, but I suppose there would have been no way, given that, there would have been no way to let Crothers' character survive. I don't think you could survive getting an axe in your gut.
And you know what? That's the thing. And by the way, I don't expect that they would have actually put the lawn thing in there. But
what's his name? Sam Raimi did it in what was it? The Evil Dead. That was only a couple of years after The Shining, I think.
Oh, right. I hadn't thought of that. But yeah. What was I saying? Oh, right. He actually does get attacked in The Shining itself. He actually sustained in the book, he sustains a pretty solid wound. And he survives it. But yeah, I don't know if that really would have worked. It would have been a cop-out in the movie to see him receive a blow to the chest and then go, "I'm all right, let me drive you home." Other than that, no other thoughts on The Shining. So, shall we move?
Before we move on to Coraline, how many Kubrick films have you seen?
I have not seen too extensively. It's mostly, let's see, I guess I saw AI, which kind of counts. I saw The Shining. Basically, all the films that we've talked about on our separate areas, Strangelove, Shining, Clockwork, and 2001, are pretty much the four main, along with AI, if that counts.
Yeah. We actually studied AI as one of our... we actually studied it as I suppose a child fiction text in year one, or in literature, in our literary studies, in the first year. I actually covered it for my critical essay. I thought it was a very good film. It's probably my favorite Spielberg film, actually.
I thought it was pretty good. I don't remember that much of it, though. I will ask, what did you think of the ending? The ending. How did that? Do you have that opinion that it was kind of too tacked on?
I think I like most every other person in my class thought that it was overly sentimental. Say, the film should really have ended on David powering down, encased in ice. Say, constantly, praying to the blue fairy. It would have been a very melancholy ending, but I suppose it would have still suggested that while some goals are just unattainable, he is still he does still essentially prove his humanity, however depressingly he might do so, through his constant desire for it. I think that the film would have worked better if the ending were just removed. The ending with the alien-looking robots.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know how to feel about that, because that's a long movie and a lot of time to invest in a character. To see them basically do what you almost you knew that the blue fairy was the thing that this could be nothing real. So it would have been in a way, it would have been predictably awful, I guess is the word. But at the same time, I did not really like that ending, so that tacked on ending. So, boy, it's kind of a, whatever you call that.
Well, another thing, just quickly, I think the film was essentially a consideration of the boundaries between human and non-human. Say, whether an android can aspire to or lay claim to humanity. And I suppose through David's odyssey and his hopes, his dreams, his desire to become a human being, it did succeed. But I suppose in the film's portrayal of the robots, the other robots, say the decommissioned ones, it didn't quite work. Say, the robots really did appear too human. Say, they were more human than the fictional characters, or even the film producers gave them credit. Say, you see that they fear for their survival. They scavenge for parts to improve themselves. They hold emotions, and I thought that the assertion that David is the only android programmed to love, it was a very, perhaps a misguided assertion. Say, we see that, say Gigolo Joe, David's ally, I loved his character, by the way. He's ambitious. That is a clear human trait that I think the production team seemed to ignore. And he really did seem to, but for one, he seemed to hold a certain glee over his programming. He seemed to like who he was. And also, he did seem to hold a liking for his clients, so to speak. That might just be exceptional programming, but what is the human brain if not the greatest operating system ever evolved?